Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about something that will not only change how you think, but how you live. Control your mind, mouth, and money. These three things might seem unrelated at first, but they're deeply connected. If you learn to manage your thoughts, your words, and your finances, you put yourself in control of your life. Everything begins in the mind. Your mindset is the foundation of your entire life. Before you speak a word, before you make a decision, before you take a single action, there is a thought behind it. That's why controlling your mind is the first and most powerful step in gaining control over your life. Your mind is your internal compass. It directs where your energy flows, what you focus on, and how you interpret the world around you. Two people can go through the exact same situation, but how they respond depends on what's going on in their mind. One sees a problem, the other sees a possibility. One breaks down, the other breaks through. It's all mindset. We live in a world full of distractions, fears, pressure, and noise. If you don't learn how to filter your thoughts, they will control you instead of you controlling them. Uncontrolled thoughts can lead to stress, confusion, procrastination, and even self-sabotage. That's why it's so important to take ownership of what you allow to grow in your mental space. To master your mind, you need to become intentional about what you feed it. Just like your body needs healthy food, your mind needs healthy input. Positive information, empowering conversations, uplifting environments, and most importantly, self-awareness. You have to be aware of your own patterns. What triggers you? What thoughts bring you peace? Which ones push you to grow? It's also about rewiring negative belief systems. Maybe you've been telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up, or nothing ever works out for me. These are not just thoughts, they are mental scripts. And if you repeat them long enough, they become your truth. But the beauty is, you can rewrite those scripts. You can train your brain just like a muscle. Start with small shifts, from I can't to I'm learning, from this is too hard to this is helping me grow. Practices like journaling, meditation, affirmations, and reading books that challenge your thinking can help you develop mental discipline. You don't have to accept every thought that crosses your mind. Some thoughts need to be challenged. Some need to be ignored. Others need to be replaced. When you master your mind, you gain clarity. You don't react emotionally to every situation. You pause, process, and proceed with wisdom. You make better decisions. You develop emotional intelligence. You become resilient in the face of adversity because your strength comes from within, not from circumstances. Mastering your mind doesn't mean you never have doubts or bad days. It means you don't let those doubts drive your life. You become the gatekeeper of your thoughts. You stop blaming the world and start owning your mindset. You take your power back, and with that power, you can begin to shape a life that reflects who you truly want to become. Negativity is a silent killer. Not of the body, but of dreams, confidence, peace, and progress. And the most dangerous kind of negativity? It's not always what comes from others. It's the voice in your own head that whispers doubt, fear, and limitation. To silence negativity, you have to first recognize where it's coming from. Sometimes it's external. People around you who constantly complain, criticize, or discourage. They may not do it with bad intentions, but their energy affects you. You start shrinking yourself to stay comfortable. You start second-guessing your goals because they make fun of them. You stop growing because you're surrounded by people who aren't growing. That's external negativity, and it's real. But often, the louder battle is internal. It's the inner critic that shows up when you're trying something new. It says, you're not smart enough. You're too late. Who do you think you are to try this? These thoughts might sound like they're keeping you safe, but really, they're keeping you small. You must learn to challenge those voices. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves to stay. You are not obligated to believe every fear, every doubt, or every negative prediction your mind creates. Most of our fears are just stories we've told ourselves over and over until they felt like truth. But here's the thing. Just as you can tell yourself lies, you can tell yourself truth. And that truth starts with deciding that you are not a prisoner of negativity. Silencing negativity also means being selective with your environment. Who are you listening to daily? What kind of media are you consuming? What conversations are you allowing to enter your space? If you're constantly surrounded by pessimism, gossip, and chaos, it's nearly impossible to think clearly or grow intentionally. Protect your mental atmosphere. Guard your peace like it's gold, because it is. It's okay to distance yourself from negative influences, even if that means saying no to certain people, cutting off unhealthy conversations, or taking a break from social media. What you allow into your mind becomes your mental diet, and a steady diet of negativity will leave you mentally weak, emotionally drained, and spiritually empty. But silencing negativity doesn't mean ignoring real problems. It means facing them from a place of strength and clarity, not fear and frustration. It means replacing reaction with response. You can acknowledge a challenge without becoming consumed by it. You can admit something is hard without deciding it's impossible. This also involves managing self-talk. Your inner dialogue creates your emotional climate, so instead of saying, "I can't handle this," shift it to, "I'm figuring this out." Instead of saying, "I always fail," tell yourself, "I'm learning from every experience." This isn't about blind positivity. It's about balanced perspective. It's about choosing to speak life into your situation, even when it's difficult. The goal is not to pretend negativity doesn't exist. It's to recognize it when it appears, disarm it with truth, and refuse to let it control your narrative. When you silence negativity from within and around you, you clear the path for confidence, clarity, and courage to rise. You make room for possibilities. You make room for peace. And you remind yourself that you have the final say over what energy you allow to shape your life. Your words are more than just sounds. They are tools, weapons, seeds, and mirrors. They reflect your mindset, influence your relationships, and shape the reality you live in. That's why learning to choose your words wisely is one of the most powerful forms of self-mastery. Words carry energy. They can uplift or tear down. They can comfort or confuse. They can build bridges or burn them. And once spoken, they can't be taken back. They leave an imprint on the minds and hearts of those who hear them. That's why it's not just about what you say, but how, when, and why you say it. Most people speak reactively. They say whatever comes to mind in the heat of the moment without considering the weight of their words. But growth happens when you move from reactive speaking to reflective speaking. That means pausing before you speak, checking your intention, and asking yourself, will this bring value? Will this build up or tear down? Is this coming from a place of clarity or a place of ego? Think about the words you speak to others on a daily basis. Are they filled with encouragement, honesty, and respect, or are they laced with sarcasm, criticism, or blame? It's easy to underestimate the effect our words have, especially on the people closest to us. But the truth is, the way you speak to others can either deepen the connection or damage it. Relationships thrive on healthy communication, and that starts with conscious language. And it's not just about how you talk to others, it's also about how you talk to yourself. Self-talk is one of the most overlooked areas of personal growth. We often say things to ourselves we would never say to a friend. We beat ourselves up with harsh words, constantly replay our mistakes, and talk ourselves out of opportunities. But what you tell yourself becomes your belief, and your belief becomes your behavior. That's why choosing your words wisely includes speaking life over yourself. Replace phrases like, "I'm such an idiot," with, "I made a mistake, but I'm learning." Swap, "I'm not good enough," for, "I'm growing stronger every day." This is not fluff. It's mental reprogramming. You are setting a tone for your life by the way you speak about it. Another key part of choosing your words wisely is learning the power of timing and tone. You can have the right message but deliver it the wrong way. The same sentence can heal or hurt depending on how it's said. Communication isn't just about words, it's about delivery. It's about emotional intelligence. It's about knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to wait. Also, be aware of the energy your words bring into a space. Are you the person who spreads encouragement, hope, and clarity? Or are you the one who constantly spreads complaints, drama, and doubt? People may forget what you said, but they won't forget how your words made them feel. Speak with purpose. Speak with patience. Speak with power. Not loudness, but clarity and intention. And remember, silence can be powerful too. Sometimes the wisest thing you can say is nothing at all. When emotions are high, silence gives you space to think. When conversations are heated, silence can prevent damage. It's not about suppressing your voice, it's about directing it with purpose. Choosing your words wisely is a daily practice. It requires mindfulness, humility, and discipline. But the payoff is priceless. Deeper relationships, clearer thinking, stronger self-worth, and a more intentional life. Your words can shape your world, so speak as if every sentence is a building block, because it is. In a world that rewards loud voices and fast opinions, the art of listening has become a lost skill. But it's one of the most powerful tools you can ever develop. When you speak less and listen more, you don't just become a better communicator, you become wiser, more empathetic, and more respected. Many people talk not to connect, but to be heard, to prove a point, to win an argument, to showcase knowledge. But real power often lies in the pause. It lies in the ability to observe, absorb, and respond with thought instead of impulse. When you're constantly talking, you miss what's happening around you. You miss nuance, emotion, opportunity, and sometimes the deeper meaning behind people's words. Listening, truly listening, is a sign of confidence. People who are secure within themselves don't feel the need to dominate every conversation. They're comfortable with silence. They're comfortable letting others speak. And when they do talk, their words carry more weight because they've taken the time to understand first. Listening is not just about hearing sounds. It's about being present. It's about tuning in, not just with your ears, but with your full attention. When someone is speaking to you, do you actually hear them? Or are you already crafting your reply in your head? Are you listening to understand or just waiting for your turn to talk? One of the greatest signs of respect you can give someone is your undivided attention. It tells them, I see you, I hear you, you matter. And in turn, it opens the door to stronger trust, deeper understanding, and better communication. People don't always need advice. Sometimes they just need to be heard. This principle also applies to learning and growth. The less you talk, the more you observe. And the more you observe, the more you learn. Every person you meet knows something you don't. Every experience, every perspective, every struggle holds a lesson. But you can only receive it if you're quiet enough to notice it. Speaking less also helps you regulate your emotions. In heated moments, silence can be your strongest weapon. It gives you space to breathe, to think, to respond instead of react. Rash words spoken in anger or frustration can damage relationships, ruin reputations, or escalate conflicts. But when you pause, when you listen to what's really going on, both inside and outside, you gain control over the situation and yourself. In business, leadership, and personal relationships, the best communicators are often the best listeners. They make people feel valued. They catch details others miss. They ask questions before making assumptions, and they speak only when their words are thoughtful, necessary, and helpful. There's a saying, if your mouth is open, you're not learning. It's not meant to silence your voice, but to elevate your awareness. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do in a room is not to show what you know, but to open yourself up to what you don't know. That takes humility. That takes maturity. Even in conversations with yourself, your internal dialogue. Sometimes the goal isn't to fill your mind with noise, but to listen to what your body, your intuition, or your spirit is trying to tell you. There's clarity in stillness. There's wisdom in silence. So, don't mistake quietness for weakness. It's not passivity, it's control, it's presence. It's the strength to let your actions speak louder than your words and your ears gather more wisdom than your mouth could ever give. Money is one of the most misunderstood tools in life. For many, it becomes a source of stress, conflict, or even shame. But the truth is, money is not the problem. It's how we manage it, how we relate to it, and most importantly, how intentionally we use it. Spending with intention means taking control of your finances instead of letting your finances control you. Every dollar you earn carries potential, the potential to build, to grow, to secure your future, to support your family, to create freedom. But when you spend without intention, that potential slips through your fingers. Intentional spending isn't about restriction or being overly frugal. It's about clarity. It's about making your money reflect your values, goals, and vision for your life. Start by asking yourself, where is my money going? A lot of people feel like they're bad with money, but in reality, they just haven't taken the time to understand their spending patterns. Tracking your expenses might feel tedious at first, but it's one of the most eye-opening things you can do. You'll discover where you're being wasteful, where you're being impulsive, and where small adjustments can make a huge difference. When you spend with intention, you begin to separate needs from wants. You become more conscious of the emotional triggers behind your purchases. Are you buying something because you truly need it? Or are you trying to fill a void, impress someone, or relieve stress? Retail therapy might feel good in the moment, but it often leads to long-term regret if it's not rooted in purpose. Intentional spending also means aligning your purchases with your priorities. If building wealth, traveling, starting a business, or retiring early is important to you, then your spending habits should reflect that. That might mean cutting back on things that look good now so you can afford what feels good later. It's not always about saying no, it's about saying yes to the right things. Another powerful part of intentional spending is creating a budget, not as a punishment, but as a roadmap. A budget gives your money direction. It tells your dollars where to go instead of wondering where they went. It creates freedom, not restriction, because it gives you the ability to spend without guilt and save without confusion. Delayed gratification plays a big role here too. In a world of instant everything, fast food, fast fashion, fast credit, the idea of waiting seems outdated. But the people who win financially are the ones who know how to wait, how to plan, and how to prioritize the future over the impulse of the present. Every time you say no to an unnecessary purchase, you're saying yes to long-term peace. And intentional spending isn't just about managing what you spend. It's about being mindful of what you support. Where you put your money is a reflection of your values. Are you investing in your growth, supporting your community, buying from companies that align with your principles? Money is a vote. Every time you spend, you're voting for the kind of world you want to live in. It also helps to redefine what wealth means to you. True wealth isn't just about material possessions. It's about freedom, peace of mind, options, and legacy. It's about being able to make choices without fear, to take care of your loved ones, to give generously, and to sleep at night knowing your future is protected. Spending with intention requires discipline, awareness, and sometimes a bit of sacrifice. But the payoff is a life that's not just lived, it's designed. A life where your money works for you instead of you always working for your money. It puts you in the driver's seat, not just of your finances, but of your future. Impulse decisions are often made in moments of emotional intensity. When you're excited, angry, fearful, anxious, or simply distracted, they happen fast. They feel urgent. But more often than not, they lead to regret. Learning to pause, think, and reflect before you act is a powerful life skill that separates those who live reactively from those who live intentionally. Impulsive choices come in many forms. It could be an emotional outburst that damages a relationship, a quick purchase that derails your budget, a rushed commitment you weren't ready for, a decision made out of fear rather than faith. These snap judgments might feel right in the heat of the moment, but they often ignore the bigger picture. When you live on impulse, you live on autopilot, driven by emotions instead of guided by principles. And while emotions are valid and valuable, they're not always the best decision makers. Emotions fluctuate, principles don't. That's why having clarity about your values, goals, and standards is crucial. When those are solid, they serve as a filter for your decisions. They help you slow down and ask, does this align with who I'm becoming? Avoiding impulsive decisions doesn't mean avoiding decisions altogether. It means being strategic. It means taking the time to pause and gather perspective. Even a few seconds of stillness can give your brain time to shift from emotional reaction to rational thinking. That pause is where your power lies, in the space between stimulus and response. One of the best tools for fighting impulsiveness is the habit of reflection. Before making a choice, especially a significant one, ask yourself a few key questions. Is this urgent or just emotionally loud? What are the long-term consequences of this? Am I making this decision out of pressure, fear, or insecurity? Will this move me closer to or further from my goals? Impulse decisions also thrive in environments where you feel rushed or overstimulated. That's why it's important to create space in your life. mental space, emotional space, and even physical space to slow down and think. Practicing mindfulness, journaling, or simply taking a walk before making a choice can drastically improve the quality of your decisions. In the digital age, impulsiveness is heavily triggered by convenience. One click can lead to overspending. One swipe can start a toxic connection. One post can damage your reputation. Technology has made it easy to act quickly, but harder to act wisely. That's why digital discipline matters too. Don't let the speed of the world dictate the speed of your choices. Impulsiveness often comes from a place of scarcity, the belief that if you don't act now, you'll miss out. But real opportunities don't expire in seconds. If a decision is truly meant for you, it will still be right after you've taken the time to consider it properly. Patience is not weakness, it's wisdom in motion. Another thing to consider is how impulsive decisions affect your relationships. Words said in anger, promises made without follow-through, or sudden changes of direction can cause confusion, break trust, and create unnecessary chaos. Consistency and thoughtfulness build strong connections. Rashness, even if unintentional, can unravel them. Avoiding impulsiveness doesn't mean being overly cautious or never taking risks. It means measured movement. Knowing the difference between bold action and reckless reaction. It's about choosing your next step not because it's loud and flashy, but because it's aligned, informed, and grounded. The most successful people, financially, emotionally, relationally, are not those who move the fastest, but those who make the right moves at the right time. And those right moves usually come from a mind that's trained to pause, evaluate, and act with clarity instead of impulse. At first glance, your thoughts, your speech, and your finances might seem like separate areas of life. But in reality, they are deeply connected, like three parts of the same engine. When one is out of alignment, the others feel the impact. When all three are working in harmony, you move through life with clarity, power, and purpose. Let's start with the mind. Your mindset is the foundation. It's where everything begins. Your thoughts shape your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your behavior. If your mind is clouded by fear, doubt, and negativity, it's going to show up in how you speak, how you make decisions, how you view opportunities, and how you handle your money. On the other hand, when your mind is focused, clear, and disciplined, everything else in your life becomes more intentional. What you allow to grow in your mind eventually flows out of your mouth. Your words are a mirror of your mindset. You can't talk victory if your thoughts are constantly defeated. You can't speak peace if your inner world is full of chaos. The language you use, even in casual conversation, reflects how you think. Whether you're speaking about yourself, your goals, your circumstances, or your relationships, your words have the power to create or to destroy. And over time, the things you say reinforce the thoughts you have. It becomes a loop, either one that lifts you higher or one that keeps you stuck. Now, bring money into the equation. Money decisions are never just about math. They're emotional, they're mental, they're often subconscious. If your mind is undisciplined and your mouth is careless, your money will follow the same pattern. Think about it. An impulsive thought can lead to an impulsive word, and both can lead to an impulsive purchase. You might spend money trying to impress people you talk about, or to distract yourself from feelings you never dealt with. You might avoid saving or investing because of limiting beliefs you've never challenged. You might talk yourself out of opportunities because you've convinced yourself they're out of reach. In other words, undisciplined thoughts lead to undisciplined words, which lead to undisciplined actions, especially with money. On the flip side, when your mind is sharp, your mouth becomes powerful and your money becomes purposeful. A focused mind leads to wise, intentional speech. That kind of speech reinforces clarity, confidence, and self-respect. And from that place, you start using your resources, including your finances, to build, not just to survive. You budget because you respect your future. You invest because you believe in growth. You give generously because you no longer operate from scarcity. And all of that starts in the mind. Think about how many people speak poverty over their lives every day without realizing it. They say things like, "I'll never afford that," "Money always slips through my hands," "I'm just bad with finances," or "People like me don't get ahead." That language is not just words, it's a script. And they're repeating it over and over, locking themselves into the very mindset that keeps them broke, frustrated, or dependent. The same applies to people who talk down to themselves constantly. "I'm not smart enough," "I always mess up," "Nobody listens to me," "I'm just average." Those thoughts, once spoken aloud, begin to shape behavior. They lower confidence, they kill ambition, and they affect everything, including the kind of opportunities you pursue and the financial risks you're willing to take. When your mind, mouth, and money are in alignment, your life becomes intentional. You think with purpose, you speak with power, and you spend with wisdom. You're no longer driven by emotions or pressure. You don't chase validation or instant gratification. You don't sabotage your progress with careless words or reckless decisions. Instead, you become a steward of your thoughts, your influence, and your resources. It's not just about having more money. It's about mastery. Mental, verbal, and financial. It's about recognizing that every part of your life is connected and nothing happens in isolation. The way you think determines what you say. What you say shapes what you believe, and what you believe decides how you manage everything. Your time, your energy, your relationships, and your money. So if you want to change your life, don't just chase the outcome. Start with your mind. Watch your mouth and handle your money like it's a reflection of both, because it is. Life doesn't hand you leadership. You have to step into it. Taking control of your life is not about dominating others or forcing outcomes. It's about ownership. It's about accepting full responsibility for your choices, your mindset, your habits, and your direction. When you take control, you stop reacting to life and start creating it. The truth is, no one can want a better life for you more than you do. You can't wait on permission. You can't sit around hoping someone will come and save you, fix your problems, or show you the way. That kind of waiting turns into wasting. And the longer you wait to take control, the further you drift from the life you were meant to lead. Taking control starts with your mindset. You have to believe that you are capable of change, that you are worthy of success, that no matter where you came from, you have the power to choose where you go next. It's not about pretending things are perfect. It's about being honest about where you are and intentional about where you're headed. Blame is easy, but blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility is hard, but it's the only road to freedom. When you take control, you stop being driven by your circumstances and start being driven by your convictions. You set your own standards. You stop following the crowd and start following your vision. You become the kind of person who wakes up with purpose, not just a to-do list. You make decisions that reflect your future, not your fears. That means doing what needs to be done even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because growth never lives in the comfort zone. Taking control also means managing your time, energy, and environment. Who are you spending time with? What are you feeding your mind? What habits are draining you instead of building you? These aren't small questions. They're the framework of your future. You can't lead your life if you're constantly distracted, constantly pleasing others, or constantly doing what's easy instead of what's right. Leadership starts with self-discipline. The ability to say no to temptations, to shut down the voice that says later, or it's too hard, or I'm not ready. Because here's the truth. Waiting to feel ready is the enemy of progress. You don't need to have all the answers to take the first step. You just need to take the step. Confidence isn't the cause of action, it's the result of action. You gain confidence by showing yourself what you're capable of, day by day, choice by choice. Taking control also means you stop outsourcing your happiness. You stop relying on other people's approval, opinions, or validation to feel good about yourself. When you lead your life, your self-worth comes from within. You know who you are, you know what matters to you, you don't have to prove anything, you just have to live it. You also stop waiting for perfect conditions. Life will always be messy, there will always be distractions, setbacks, and challenges. But leadership isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning how to walk through it with intention. You become adaptable. You stay focused on what you can control, even when everything around you feels uncertain. Because that's real power. Not having control over everything, but having control over yourself. To lead your life means to be the author of your own story. You don't let your past write your future. You don't let fear be the editor. You pick up the pen, even when your hands are shaking. You write with clarity, purpose, and vision. You build a life based on your values, not just based on what's popular or what's easy, or what other people expect of you. When you take control, you stop drifting and start directing. You choose growth over comfort, discipline over distractions, purpose over pressure. And you understand that leadership doesn't mean perfection. It means progress. It means showing up for yourself every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when real leaders are made. Not when everything is going right, but when you choose to rise anyway. In conclusion, remember that your journey to take control begins within you. It starts with mastering your mind, understanding that your thoughts shape your reality. It continues with speaking wisely, choosing words that empower both yourself and those around you. And it culminates in spending with intention, ensuring that your financial decisions reflect your values and your vision for the future. When you align your mind, mouth, and money, you create a powerful trifecta that not only elevates your personal life, but also positively impacts everyone around you. Taking control is not merely about making decisions. It's about making decisions with clarity, purpose, and integrity. Embrace the responsibility that comes with leadership, not just of others, but of yourself. Lead with conviction, courage, and compassion. Understand that the choices you make today will determine the life you lead tomorrow. Each step you take in the direction of control and intention will guide you toward a fulfilling life that reflects your true self. So as you leave here today, I challenge you to commit to this journey of self-leadership. Take control to lead your life. Think critically, speak thoughtfully, and spend wisely. The power to shape your destiny lies within you. Embrace it, own it, and let it guide you toward the future you desire. Thank you.